Welcome to this new webinar, the series of webinars that we have prepared from MAtchUP. In this case, the webinar is about the role of the follower city. The name of the webinar is Being a Follower City in Smart City Projects. So for today, I would like to remind you some rules that could be better the webinar. First, remember, for those who are attending to a webinar, to keep your microphones and cameras switched off. If you want to ask any question, please use the chat box, and at the end of the different presentations, we will be able to ask the speakers these questions. Okay, so I inform you that the webinar is going to be recorded for dissemination purposes, so we will upload this webinar to our channels of social media, and including the YouTube channel. And last but not least, remember to enjoy it. So we will try to make this webinar the more interesting, the better for all of you. So then I would like to introduce briefly the different speakers that are going to present their feelings, their experiences both in our project and in other projects. First, we will start with Johanna Kuusisto from the city of Kerava in Finland, which, by the way, we in MAtchUP last periodic meeting successfully. Thank you for that, for making it happen. Then we will go on with the contribution from Yaron Karif from the city of Herzliya in Israel. Next, we will go on with Mathix de Baile from the city of Ostend in Belgium. All of them, so Joanna, Yaron, and Mathis are representatives from follower cities in MAtchUP project. And apart from that, we have the participation. So many thanks, Nadia Riedel from the city of Leipzig in Germany. It's a curious case because in this the city of Leipzig participating with a role of follower in one of the lighthouse projects, and have finished being a lighthouse city in another one. So she will talk about this change of roles of involvement in a project like this. Well, this will be the different contributions, and I would like to remind you that we have produced a video about replication in MAtchUP. The name of the video is Learning by Watching, Doing by Replicating, and you can check and see and watch this video on the YouTube channels of our project. So I invite you to watch this video. And now I would like to start giving the floor to our colleague Johanna from Kerava. So Johanna, the floor is yours. By the way, remember those who are not going to present to switch off the cameras and the microphones. Okay, so Johanna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, hello everybody. My name is Johanna Kuusisto and I come from Finland, from the city of Kerava. And we have been a part of a MAtchUP project, a follower city there. I work as a part-time as a program manager for climate actions for the city. I will tell you about, my presentation is divided by 3 different parts. First, I'll tell you a little bit about Kerava, some facts, then about the overview of our strategic level climate activities, and also I tell you a little bit more deeply about our role in the MAtchUP project and maybe some lessons learned as well. So, the city of Kerava is located in the southern part of Finland, so only 25 minutes by train or by car from Helsinki, which is the capital city of Finland. and actually we are part of the great Helsinki metropolitan area. We have 37,244 inhabitants at the end of the last year, and we expect to grow 1% per year until 2030, at least. We are very small in size compared to other Finnish cities. Total area is only 30.79 square kilometers. So we are the third, our population density is the third highest in Finland. And at the end, on year 2020, our investment budget for the city was 30 million euros. And if we take into account the whole city and the subsidiaries, it was 70 million euros. It was like the pre-COVID virus time, so I think this is the most real figures. We are in a climate which is this warm summer, humid continental type of climate, and this means that we have a very high demand for heating and also a growing demand for cooling during the summer times. And I'll tell a little bit about the city organization. So we have 1,900 employees in the city, and actually the city is the biggest employer in the town. We own our energy company, which is a great advantage, Kerava Energy. Well, we own 96.5% share of the company, and the rest is owned by our neighboring municipality, Sipoo. We have a citywide district heating network, and we have our own combined heat and power type of bioenergy plant, which uses wood-based fuels. And we gave up carbon already in the beginning of 2000 this century, and then we gave up peat last year. So trying to be carbon neutral as soon as possible what concerns to energy production. We also have a solar power plant. The other subsidiary is Nikkarenkruunu, which is the city-owned housing company for social housing. We have also outsourced many of our services. For example, environmental services is going to conduct Keski-Uusimaa Environment Institute, and there is 5 other municipalities in the area which owns that institute. Our public transportation is managed by HSL, which is the Helsinki region-wide public transportation system. And actually, that has been very good for us, even we are a very small partner in that public transportation system, but we have had 1/3 of our buses has been electrical buses since 2019. Also, waste disposal sanitation services is managed by these municipal organizations. And I want to point that this is actually the way how we leverage our inputs or investments. So we work in many networks, many projects where we can scale up the things we are doing. Then a little bit about the strategical level activities we have. We started to work, MAtchUP project started 2017. We started to work then, and actually before that, Kerava didn't have any climate plan on that time, and so we needed something first, some kind of big picture where to start, what to focus. We finalized our Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan already last year, joined the Covenant of Mayors on year 2019, so already during the project. And Then we also got some funding for our Ministry Environment to conduct this Ympäristövahti tool, with which anybody can follow our CCAP activities online. You can see the address there. Our municipal council changed last year, and now I think we have our climate issues and environmental issues more widely are part of our strategy. For example, in Finland, we have decided that we will be carbon neutral by 2035. And that's something which is now included in our city strategy as well. Of course, we in this Uusimaa region where Kerava locates, where Helsinki, Vantaa, the big cities locate, Espoo locates, we actually decided that we want to target the carbon neutrality already by year 2030. We finalized our procurement policy this spring, and also these environmental and climate issues are now more pointed out there than before. And we have to connect or link everything we are doing somehow in this big investments project we are already conducting. We have a big development ongoing relating to our central railway station area that's going to serve as a multi-purpose mobility hub, not just for Kerava, but also the larger area, the neighboring municipalities. Then we will have a housing fair event on 2024. That is actually an area, housing area, which will be planned, built at the same time. It will be ready on summer 2024, and anybody can come there and visit inside the houses, see new technologies, new solutions. It will be open to public for 1 month, and after it closes, then the people will move in. The MAtchUP project, I think from the beginning, it has been watch and learn, but not just this, but also change ideas with lighthouse cities. I think in the energy sector, we are quite advanced already, but there are many other areas that we really need development. In the project, we got to understand our strengths and weaknesses through the city diagnostic and scenario work, which was sort of managed by the technical partners in the project. They supported us. And actually we did, as a follower, we did almost the same things than the lighthouse cities in the project, except we didn't have the funds for investments. So we did all this planning following the same steps than the lighthouse cities did. We formulated our vision and strategy with our stakeholders, and I mentioned already the process. So there was already process from technical partners, and we followed that, and there were deadlines, steps, but of course the responsibility to do the discussions, decide vision, decide the strategical points was ours to do. Then we finalized a smart city strategic plan. We choose and plan the most of the most effective actions. That's always a question. There's a lot of things you can do, but which are the most effective ones that city can do? We don't have a unlimited amount of funds available, so we need to choose the best ones. And this smart city strategic plan, it was actually, we did it almost at the same time with our CCAP. We had a consultant company who prepared these baseline inventories and things like that for the CCAP document. But I think the process we follow helped both. And then the last thing we have done is this replication plan that we concentrated especially on those activities that has been conducted in the MAtchUP project, and how we could replicate those. This is just a list of the smart city technology packages that we are going to replicate. The first 3 ones we are going to replicate in our housing fair area. Then there's e-vehicles for local government, expansion charging infrastructure. Of course, I think in the bottom layer, or that helps us a lot to do things, is the digitalization, especially development of API services, monitoring services. So there's going to be many projects in this point 6. And luckily in Finland, we have some funding available through ministries who help, especially municipalities, to digitalize the services. So we will do those project by project. This was all I wanted to tell you today. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Johanna, for your presentation. And next, let's move to the next speaker. That is going to be Yaron Karif from Israel. By the way, I remind you that you can use the chat box for asking questions to the speakers, that we will have the chance after their presentations to ask this question to them. Okay? So, Yaron, the floor is yours.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about being a follower city in the EU project. We're going to talk about a bit introduction of Herzliya and about how MAtchUP is how MAtchUP help us to move to sustainable urbanism. I'm Yaron, and I'm the energy supervisor of the Herzliya municipality and also the representative of MAtchUP. Herzliya located 15 kilometers north from Tel Aviv, Israel, and cover about 23 kilometers square. And Herzliya city founded in 1924, but we have a very fast growth rate. And we have current population more than 110 residents. Herzliya is a Mediterranean coastal city with hot summers and cool and humidity winters. Herzliya municipality is developing climate change adaptation mitigation plan for 2030. This is the local version of the SECAP, the Strategic European Countries Plan. This city master plan includes activities from the field of energy, mobility, and ICT, the information and communication technology. The city is in the path to reduce greenhouse gas emission through energy efficient and sustainable mobility and other solutions. Herzliya is a follower city of MAtchUP. The main role in the project is to learn from solution implemented in the lighthouse cities and other follower cities as Herzliya. As part of MAtchUP, we were exposed to and learned about the solution in areas of retrofitted buildings with renewable energy source and storage solution, smart lighting, and so on. Also, a sustainable mobility solution as e-buses, e-bike, charging station, as much as we can to enlarge the quantity. urban platform for better managing of the city. Of other cities were very expiring, and we learned from that a lot. The part of the project activities, we anticipated in study tours, in all kind of conference, and vertical meeting, a workshop, and webinars. That's this one. The main focus of learning is barriers and how to overcome the barriers, business model, how to participate citizen engagement activities. And the best solution after a lot of work of analyzing and gathering information, we got to a decision about what are the best solutions to replicate to cover the city needs through urban planning tools and methods. The output are first of all, what are the city needs and the city objective for 2030? And the replication solution that we are implementing in the city, that is the best solution to be implemented for the city of Herzliya. These are the solutions that we decided to replicate. We will go a bit through them. We have here the retrofit of a public building by replacing the air condition and the lighting. Replacing the old system of central and also small split air conditioners, and the lighting of the municipal institution with the new energy efficient technology for saving the electricity and the maintenance, and to give a better service to the resident that come to visit those institutions. We have in plan about 14 municipal institution rooftop to install about 1.5 megawatt photovoltaic systems, and similar quantity is considered. As you can see here, we are changing the public lighting to a smart LED lamppost with the controller that we can see the status of each one of the lamppost light. The main purpose was to change all the street lighting and to high efficiency LED with the remote control, and this is part of the smart city control. Also, we have in plan the smart controllers include the smart meters at the municipal institution. We're talking about 162 buildings that we planned to make them with the smart systems, with smart meters and smart control in of the energy in the building. The last for the last mile logistic, we the main point in this project is to establish a bicycle rental mechanism by private companies and connecting Herzliya bicycle path with the close by cities, the neighbors cities, and to continue to carry out the city bicycle path master plan. As you can see on the right, you can see the blue lines are the paths that we have already bicycle paths on the streets, and the red is to be completed in the next decade. We have the main purpose of this very large mega project, it's a national level project, is to add almost 11 kilometers of additional bus lanes only for buses, and to continue with this bus lanes is continuously with the neighbor cities, so it will be very easy to use the bus to get to other places and to let go a bit of the private vehicles. We also want to expand the infrastructure of the public station for private EVs use. The main purpose here is to install 20 public double charging stations with 22 kilowatt, and we are considering another 50 charging station as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaron, for your presentation. And let's move to the next presentation that it comes from the city of Ostend in Belgium. Our colleague Mathis de Velle is going to present your experience in MAtchUP project. The floor is yours, Mathis.
Thank you. And I assume that my screen is visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect then. Good morning, everyone. I'm Matthijs de Waal, Smart City Coordinator at the city of Ostend. And I'm really excited to present our city here during this webinar. So today on the agenda, I have a small introduction of Ostend, then our smart city vision and the smart city projects, of course. I also will talk a little bit more about our strategy and the projects that are being realized, and finally the results of MAtchUP. So first of all, city of Ostend. For the people who don't know Ostend, it's a coastal city right in the middle of the coast in Belgium. We have around 70,000 inhabitants. And let me 70,000 inhabitants. And the characteristics of the population is that it's mainly an older population. A lot of people come to Ostend to retire, and that of course brings challenges. Secondly, it's also a really diverse population, and on socio-economic indicators we score below average. But above all, Ostend, for people from Belgium, it's a touristic town. It actually started back in the beginning of the 20th century, and I brought a little photo of that. Ostend was a town with hotels, with a lot of restaurants. There was the beach, and until today, it's quite known for its touristic activities. There are also a lot of cultural events taking place in Ostend. Also brought another perspective, Ostend from the sea, where you see all the big apartments. Many of those apartments are owned by second homeowners, so people come to Ostend during holidays or in the weekends. And to finish, a last photo of our harbor. Close to the city center, we have a harbor that is focused on the blue economy. And here you see the one of the main activities of the harbor, and that's the construction of wind turbines at sea. So the turbines are transported from our harbor to the sea. Then Ostend as a smart city. We've created some kind of vision on what a smart city actually is. Smart City in Ostend is a network of city actors who aim to increase livability by implementing smart projects. And I highlighted the words network of city actors because for us that's really the core of Smart City. It's about bringing people, stakeholders together and together tackle the challenges of the future. Those stakeholders can be, for example, citizens, civil servants, but also researchers or entrepreneurs. Of course, we have to more or less define what smart projects are. The characteristics of a smart project for us are, in the first point, it's experimental, something we haven't done before. It's a project that aims to create something new or significantly change something that's already there. That can be, for example, a product or a process or a social change or a policy change. The target of smart projects in the first place is livability. Increase livability for our inhabitants, for our visitors, for our entrepreneurs. Secondly, sustainability. And lastly, resilience. Being resilient as a city for future challenges. So what is our strategy then? As said in the vision, building up a network is really important to us. We want to connect the dots within our city. Make sure that information flows from one organization to another. Secondly, these smart projects themselves are focused mainly on sustainability and circular economy. We have some objectives there too. Some examples are reduce CO2 emissions by 40% in 2030, become climate neutral by 2050, replace city-owned vehicles by electrical or hydrogen ones, and electrify public buses and taxis. Then our objectives for the digital government. First of all, really make a strategy and create actions for e-inclusion, which means that we want to include every citizen to participate within the digital transformation. Then the fun part, which projects are being realized or are realized. Some examples for the network we put in place. First example is the hackathon. We organized already 2 years in a row a hackathon for students of the local university college, where they could brainstorm, come up with solutions for challenges we have as an organization or as a city. Then we have also our own local climate plan. We've made that plan with the help of our citizens. We organized events such as on the picture, where we try to keep brainstorms, involve the citizens, and together create this climate plan. Another picture from another day, that was the day of inclusion, where we brought all the people together, all the organizations, to think and come up with solutions for inclusion. This is a picture of our own internal incubator. It's a group of people who have a natural interest in innovation, and we brought them together, and sometimes we do activities with them to just harvest inspiration. This picture is a picture at an organization that is doing research in drones in Ostend, and we did a site visit. We got some information. We discussed about possible opportunities to cooperate. And then the last example of a network, and that was also a really fun one, was a research project where we cooperated with the University of Leuven. And then we installed some air purifying machines. You can see it here, the wine machine. We installed them in classrooms to prevent people getting sick of COVID. So the machine gets the germs out of the air and purifies the air. So we've installed some of the machines in, I think, 6 classes, and then we do research in what the effect can be of those machines on possible COVID sickness. Then the projects that are being realized within the topic of sustainability. The first one is a European project that we did, and we reconverted an old parking lot right in the city right in the city center of Ostend. So that used to be a parking lot, but we installed a lot of greenery to make it look nicer, but also to measure the impact of, for example, trees on the temperature in the city. The second European project called Scape, where we made a city river on the left side and some kind of natural water capturing infrastructure, where we try to capture water when it rains and hold it for drought periods. Then lastly, our heat network. In Ostend, we have a heat network. So residential or leftover heat from the incinerator, we capture the leftover energy and transform it to heat for all kind of buildings, hospitals, new apartment blocks, and so on. Then, to finalize the projects that are being realized within the topic of technology, another European project where we installed smart lighting. Here on the square, we installed sensors within this light to measure how many people come by, but also to adapt the light to the time of day, to the busyness around the square. And then an internal project, we are busy with the creation of a digital transformation plan, where we will further digitalize our services to our citizens. And then lastly, another project that has recently started. That project is about circular economy, where we we will capture BIM data, it's building information model data, and we use that data to enable urban mining. So being able to harvest materials from within the city using that data and reuse them in, for example, new buildings. And then I'm already at my last slide, the results of MAtchUP. MAtchUP has helped us tremendously within our strategy. We defined objectives, we put out a roadmap. It was also a great source of inspiration. Just being able to talk to experts from around Europe is really helpful in the creation of a strategy and a vision. Of course, the network itself is always a great opportunity to identify new projects. And lastly, the European network of advisors, the people and experts who are involved within MAtchUP, are always helpful. Then I'm at my last slide. Thank you for listening. And my email address is on the slide, so if you're interested or you have additional questions, you can always contact me through there.
Thank you, Matix. With this presentation from the city of Ostend, we finish with the presentation of the follower cities in MAtchUP, Kerava, then Herzliya and Ostend. I remind you that we have a fourth follower city, that is Skopje, the capital city of North Macedonia. And now we have our guest for today's webinar is Nadia Riedel from the city of Leipzig in Germany, who has the experience from being a follower city or fellow city in the Triangulum project, from the first generation of projects, to a lighthouse city in Sparcs. So, Nadia, thank you for joining us and talking to us about your experience. And now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ernesto. So let me check. Do you see my slides?
Yes, we can see.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So thank you for having me here and for this kind introduction. Yes, my name is Nadia Riedel. I work for the Digital City unit of the city of Leipzig, and as it was pointed out, I joined the municipality, so the city of Leipzig, in the beginning of 2016 as a project manager for the follower city activities of Leipzig within the Triangulum project, and since 2019 I'm also the project coordinator for the Leipzig's activities in this lighthouse project Sparcs. So I would like to give you just a short insight on what we have done being a follower city, what kind of work we focused on. I can already say that some of the things that the other three fellow cities just pointed out is basically a lot of this what we have also focused on while we were in Triangulum. And I would especially focus my presentation on the role of networks that we established during Triangulum, and which also carries us through our daily life still in our work as a digital city unit. But let me just shortly introduce the city of Leipzig to you. So we're in the middle of Germany. So Leipzig is about 120 kilometers west of the MAtchUP city Dresden, so one of your lighthouse cities. I don't know if someone is here from Dresden, so there's always an internal German competition between Dresden and Leipzig, which one is the cooler city. At least Leipzig is in general larger than Dresden, so we have about 600 and let's say 15,000 inhabitants, so quite a large city. It's next to Berlin. It's the largest city in the eastern part of Germany. We have a quite vibrant cultural and, let's say, important history when it comes to the city. So of course Bach has been active in the city of Leipzig, and also the peaceful revolution which led to the reunification of the two German states mainly picked up in the city of Leipzig. So we had those huge demonstrations of people being on the street and demonstrating for their civil rights. Although there was this huge, let's say, enthusiasm after the reunification, the city had undergone a really tremendous changes in the years after 1919. So after the reunification, we had a massive decline in population. We had very high unemployment rates. A lot of the companies closed down. We had massive troubles on the housing market with very, very high vacancy rates. And on the other side, also, as the economy broke down, a lot of the parts of the city with former industrial areas fell down and became derelict areas. So after the reunification, the population dropped about like 100,000 inhabitants till, let's say, 448,000 inhabitants at the end of the 1990s. But since the mid-2000s, this city has made a change, and now we've been the fastest or one of the fastest growing cities within Germany. So from the mid-2000s till today, the city has grown by almost 150,000 inhabitants again, which of course imposes new challenges to us as a municipality, because we have gone from how to adopt a shrinking cities to the needs of the citizens, to the companies, to handling the challenges of a very, very fast growing cities with the impacts on housing markets, availability of industrial workplaces, education, social infrastructure. So it's a very vibrant and a very up and down city, but yet it's a very nice place. So I really invite you to come here. So, and if you have that in background, so Leipzig has had this massive transition in its urban development, and within the municipality there were several departments responsible for, let's say, managing this urban restructuring process. So already back then, the municipality was aware that a lot of the problems occurred due to the shrinkage, for example, the empty industrial buildings. This problem couldn't be solved just by the municipality itself. So already then it became obvious that we need to involve stakeholders coming from civil society, coming from university research, and also coming from businesses. So the city has always worked with this network of different institutions, and that's how we also entered into our smart city process. So when we started 2015, so Ernesto had already pointed it out, Triangulum was one of the first smart city lighthouse project. And there was a project where Stavanger, Eindhoven, and Manchester were the lighthouses, and Prague, Sabadell in Spain, and Leipzig, we were the follower cities in this project. And we, to be honest, we just accidentally entered this project because we actually the project was located in the office for housing construction subsidies and urban renewal, because this was always the department within the city who was dealing with EU projects. And when the city was asked, would you like to be a fellow city in the smart city context, the department leader was saying, yeah, okay, this seems to be like the new thing that we should have a look on when we come upon city development. So he was just jumping in the project. And back then we didn't have any, let's say, smart city working infrastructure within the municipality. So there was no, the topic of smart city was not clear. What does smart city mean for the city? Who should be involved? What should be our main focal points? So that was the thing that we worked on within the Triangulum project. Back then, but also right now, when we work on smart city digitization issues, we have some layers, let's say, of concepts that we are kind of putting our work underneath. And we, in Germany, a lot of the cities work with so-called integrated urban development concepts, which is like the overall strategy of the city, where it combines all the different aspects coming from housing, traffic, social infrastructure, greenery, water, everything together in one big concept. And we, as a smart city digitization units, we say we are like an overlaying topic within those strategies, and we contribute to all different kinds of projects which help to bring Leipzig further as a city. Also with the Triangulum part, what we focused on was to say we work on the digitization of the city system. So we're not focusing on, let's say, our internal work as a municipality. So how do we digitize our own work? And we're not working on digital services for citizens. This is the let's say, the task of another department within the city. So we're the ones clearly working towards the outside with external stakeholders. So we started the Triangulum project in 2015, and what we did was mainly starting with networking. I think Johanna from Kerava, you pointed out that you also have municipal companies like the energy company and the public transport company, and the same is true for Leipzig. So we have municipal owned subsidiaries, so the energy company, public transport company, water company. And the first, let's say, part of the project was to engage with those stakeholders to get a clear vision. What is their ambition towards smart city and climate neutrality, and what is the one of the city? So we had a lot of networking activities, we had a lot of working structures to help us develop different projects. There was one part, and the other one was, of course, to engage with businesses. So very much with the startup scene within Leipzig, with the different business accelerators that we have, but also with the different kinds of universities and, of course, citizens. So we had a focus on a special area within Leipzig. So Leipzig West was our focal area, and we did a lot of engagement activities with the citizens in this neighborhood. So what was our legacy of the Triangulum project? The first and most important one is that we came out with the concept of the digital city unit. So in 2018, it became clear not only from us from a project view, but also from other department vice mayors within the city, that we need some kind of like spider in the net that is coordinating the different smart city or digitization activities in the different city departments. We are quite large municipality, so we have about 6,000 employees and about 40 different offices, departments, whatever. So you need somebody who is on one side giving impulses for development and accompanying those departments in their daily work. So I will shortly talk about the digital city unit, but maybe our main task is not to do operational, so the regular operational work. So we are not ones responsible, for example, for maintenance of digital smart city infrastructure. We are usually ones that initiate projects and then later hand it over to the different departments. And then if it's like a standard project, then it goes to them and then they will work with it. But we are just kind of the kick-off people. So in this concept, how we work and how we approach the smart city issue came really much out of this cooperation and the exchange between the 6 cities within Triangulum. So we learned very, very much from our lighthouse cities, so especially Stavanger and Eindhoven, because they have a very unique approach to how they work on smart city project, and they were kind of always our sounding board when we were working on our concepts, and we were very thankful that we had this exchange with the lighthouses, but also we had a very strong cooperation with us as a fellow cities. Although the cities are quite different in size and in importance to the region, but we had some common challenges, and I think it was always good to have some sort of sounding board to work on. The challenge within Triangulum, I'm not sure if this is the same in MAtchUP for the fellow cities, was that we didn't have any budget for project implementation. So we were left with, let's say, money for concepts, but no money for implementation. And that's why we already within Triangulum started to apply for funding to put into practice the project that we had developed within the project. And one of them is now the lighthouse project Sparcs, where we focus more on positive energy district development. So the focus has shifted from this single smart city approach or more broader smart city approach to the special topic of positive energy districts. And so we are very much active on EU level, but by now, or like at the beginning of the 2020s, also the federal German government now has some funding programs when it comes to smart city development. Also, it's also similar like the lighthouse projects on EU level. And we are kind of a German lighthouse project, which is called CAT, and I will just shortly give you an overview. Yeah, networks. So this is basically, I think I have explained it mainly, basically. So we are kind of the spider in the net. So all the project that I will just introduce you on the next slide, almost none of them is done just by our unit alone. We always have networking partners working with us. They can either be within our municipal structure. So if we work with other departments, other offices, they can be in cooperation with our public utilities. So the energy company, public transport company, the municipal housing company. And of course, they can also be in together with citizens, business partners, or research institutions that we have at the city. And this is also due because it's kind of also saving resources for us, and it helps us to engage a lot of knowledge and capacities which are available already in Leipzig. And of course, we profit also from their networks that all those partners have, and that usually helps us to create a greater impact. And especially when it comes to engaging with citizens, it's all for us. It has worked very well to engage multipliers from the different target groups that we want to work on, because it's very hard, for example, to address elderly. So we go through associations that regularly work with elderlies, for example, to have their expertise and to use the networks they already have to different age groups. And last but least, we really like to, and we really always encourage ourselves to work in networks together with different cities, starting within regional networks. So we also have like regular exchange with Dresden on different on smart city issues, let's say. So so to see how is Dresden doing it, can we copy something and vice versa. We work in one of our projects together with Hamburg and Munich. And of course, we really like to engage in a European project, just as we do now, and tell you about what we're doing. So maybe just a short overview on our project. So we have different action fields that we work on. I'm sorry that I have a German center of the picture, but the center, it says those are basically the goals of our integrated urban development concept. And those goals that are in this concept is like the overlapping goals for our smart city activities. What I want to point out, what are maybe the most important projects that we're currently working on, is the project of an urban data platform. So I think this is a topic, I don't know, every city is kind of working on this. We as well, so to break up data silos within the municipality, make data available within the different departments. So as I said, we have a very large municipality, 40 different departments. A very hard, tough job to open the different data silos in the different departments to really generate a benefit for the whole municipality. I sometimes envy actually smaller cities because I think that they have a more direct approach and connection between the different people. So I think it's maybe easier even to share data than it is in a large municipality. And then we have this project CAT, it's Connected Urban Twins. And this is a project where we work together with Hamburg and Munich to develop digital twin services for integrated urban development. And this is one of the federal lighthouse projects in Germany. And we are also, let's say, focusing on or checking the possibilities of larger cities developing services that can be given out to other municipalities. So especially smaller communities, they have the problem that they can't do everything which would be necessary to become a smart city. So especially if you have smaller cities, at least in Germany, with like 30,000 inhabitants, they don't have the capacities to have one IT specialist working on urban data platform and to come up with an idea for a municipal platform. So we're trying to explore also, let's say, business model and operational modes. How can we give the solutions we develop within one project, give it to other municipalities so they can use and take care of. So this is one of our larger projects. I mentioned the Sparcs project, where we are a lighthouse city. We are almost through the implementation phase. So we've been running since October 2019. So the demos will be ready by the end of September this year. And then we have another 2 year of monitoring and replication phase that you are well aware of being in MAtchUP. Maybe two other projects that are that are very important to us is the so-called Smart City Challenge. So this is something we do as kind of a service provider to other departments. So we're trying to bring together challenges in regards to digitization of the different city departments and bring in expertise from different companies, being startups, established companies, but also NGOs. So we kind of give different challenges out, usually 3 per year, and then companies can apply with a first idea how they would solve this challenge. Then we choose the 3 best ones. Then they further develop this idea together with the city department, which gave the challenge, and then we choose one company to develop a prototype to closely together with the city department who gave the challenge. And by that, we hope to bring more innovation to the city administration. And this was one way for us to work around the public procurement law that we have in Germany, which is quite strict, which it's probably the same in other countries. You really have to be very clear. If you're procuring a service, you really need to know what you want to procure, which is kind of difficult if you want something innovative for the city. So this is what we do within the Smart City Challenge. And one other thing we do in regards working together with civil society, a project that is called Hardware for Future. And it's about collecting old or unused IT products, being laptops, computers, monitors. And we have a small association. They're collecting all those different things. The technical devices, they're preparing them. They look that everything is working well, and then they hand it out to students, elderly people from, let's say, a difficult economic background. And this project was actually started at the beginning of 2020 as a circular economy project. So just to reuse old IT. But then, of course, the COVID crisis came and we had several long lockdowns of school. And then, at least in Germany, it was for a lot of students hard to participate in digital online courses because they just didn't have the necessary hardware, or if there were especially larger families with several kids, they just didn't have, for example, 4 or 5 laptops at home so the kids could join school. So this is a project where we work together with this, let's say, private civil association, and we support them with, for example, bringing them together with bigger donation partners from the industry and from businesses within the city, but also, so we're using our networks to help them support with the IT they need, and also to have some finances for them to manage the handout of the reused IT to the kids and to the elderly. So it's a very broad approach that we have, and maybe just a smaller look at one, or a more detailed look on who we are working with in the Sparcs project. As I said, within Triangulum, as a follower city, we had the problem that we could think about very nice projects, but we didn't have finance allocated to that. And so we needed to apply for several funding projects. And for Sparcs, I can say that all the partners that are in the Sparcs project now, we had already worked with them when we worked in the fellow city activities. So we really much took the opportunity to what we thought about in 2000 and, well, let's say 16, 17, and the commitment we had from the partners back then, we included it in the Sparcs application and managed to keep them on board. So we've been now working with those partners, not only coming from the public utility side, but also from smaller SMEs and also from our startup program, accelerator program, for the past 6 years. And I also have to say we applied 3 times to become a lighthouse city. So we also managed to keep the partners on board, although we were rejected 2 times. So we're kind of proud of going along with those partners, and we currently also thinking about how we can utilize the networks and what kind of topics we want to work on, let's say after the Sparcs or already now, because you need some overlap between different projects. So as we're now finishing the demos within Sparcs, we also need to think about how do we process from there, go from there. Yeah, how we communicate our activities within the cities. So we have, unfortunately, it's all in German, but I just wanted to point out that we have a strong focus on telling what we are doing and also telling it together with our partners. Excuse me. So we have our own series of podcasts that we do, where we always have one person from our digital cities unit and grouping it together with one partner out of our network, where we talk on our projects, where we talk about different smart city issues. And we also have a very nice a series of online events that we do together with the university, where we also take topics in regard to smart city activities and invite partners to join and talk about us. That can be on circular economy, that can be on how to engage engage citizens, how can digital twins support urban development processes. So all the different things we are working on, we try to also communicate it to the outside, because I think this is sometimes, at least for German municipalities, a little bit difficult to be open to the outside and explain what we are doing and how we're doing it. So yes, that's my last slide. So thank you very much. And yes, I hope I could give you some insight on how we're approaching smart city and working. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nadia, for sharing with us this very interesting experience of having these 2 different roles in the project, in different projects. So now I invite the speakers to turn on their cameras, because now we are starting our question and answer section. And please, Johanna, Jaron, Mathis. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. We have some questions from the audience, from the chat. For example, here we have one for Jaron from Herzliya. In choosing the solutions for implementation, what impact was due to differences between the different types of climate?
Okay.
Do you have an answer for this?
We learned that Herzliya, most of the energy consumption is electricity, like most of the area in Israel. This is due to the fact that most of the heating and the cooling needs are done by air conditioning. Also, another sufficient energy consumption is from lighting. Therefore, a large part of the investment is focused on the area of air conditioning and lighting.
Okay, thank you. So having such a different geographical and climate regions such as Israel and Finland, so for sure, in case of Kerava, the situation is different in terms of needs of energy, as you shared with us in the meeting. Joanna, do you want to add anything related to that?
Yeah, of course, for us, the heating is the biggest problem, but luckily we have trying to solve that already for decades. So we have many of the cities have the district heating network, and we ourselves might think it's very old-fashioned technology and it's not useful, but actually it's a quite good network having. I mean that sense of equality, and in this EU project, I heard the term energy poverty many times, and I was curious, what's that? And we don't have that in Finland. And then I tried to ask from my colleagues from the city of Espoo and city of Helsinki, city of Tampere, do you know what this is? And yeah, it's I think part of the solution here is that we have the district heating network, and then if you're not capable of pay your energy bill, the social system will take care of that. So in that sense, it's a good. But yeah, for us, the heating is a big thing, and our energy system is also getting more electrified. So I think we will deal with many of the same issues that to have electricity. So that's something that we are coming more similar.
Mm-hmm. Thank you both. So we have a question for all the speakers about aging in place and why city. But I remember that you, Mathis, have mentioned that Ostend, generally speaking, is in terms of age distribution, has a predominance of old people. So could you give us some light about this fact?
What exactly is meant by why city?
Well, smart city, so I think that is even smarter, and combining with the wisdom of age people. That is, well, I guess that because I don't know who has posed that question in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in Ostend, our strategy for inclusion, so including people from all kind of backgrounds or ages within the digital transformation is a good example, and we see within that plan that it's really important to be close by, so be on the places where, for example, older people are, be the human face for the digital services. So it's really about proximity and keeping a human touch to a digitalized society.
Yeah, because in cities in which the people are older than in others, I think that engaging them into these kind of projects with a high component of the technology is engaging them could be even harder or more difficult. If any of you want to add anything about this, very briefly, because we are running out of time. If not, I think that we have more questions from the chat, in this case for Nadia. So after your long trajectory in Lighthouse projects, fairly a follower and now as Lighthouse City, what is and it's not replication for Leipzig? So because yeah, it's tricky because replication is initially planned for followers, but so this concept of upscaling and replication, how do you deal with them?
Well, it's not copy and paste. So that's the first thing. And I think we already did in Triangulum and we now do it in Sparcs. So I really love the discussion about what is upscaling, what is exploitation, and what is replication, because this is, and every time I think everyone has a different perspective on what this is. For me, replication is really to develop your own strategy and own projects with having the background of knowledge from the other cities in your back. So with what you have learned from the other cities, you are able to create your own projects and your own strategies, and taking away the learnings, but also the don'ts from the other cities. So that is something that I would say is replication, and it's sometimes, I think, not really measurable. So I know we like to have replicable projects. So to say, oh, we copied this from the city and now it works here. But I think it's more than that, and sometimes it's not straight away this to connect. And I know for all the project officers are like very much to have like the copy paste solution, but I think this is just not possible. But really to find your own way and having the background of knowledge from the other city is what I would say is replication.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. So to finish with, I have a question for Kerava. So Kerava, you have been a model for our cities. So you have done it great. But I'm curious about what has been your biggest benefit for your city, that is a small city, in participating in a project such as MAtchUP. And maybe also the main challenge that you have tackled with that.
Well, the biggest benefits, I think, of course, get the funding to actually start to work in the city, to start planning and start doing things. And of course, then all the support from lighthouse cities, technical partners, the whole process, because it's not just that you make a plan, but you have to engage stakeholders to the process. And during the last 5 years, we have had a great support for that process as well. The biggest challenge perhaps is that now, or when we got the funding, that MAtchUP got the funding, then people in the city organization easily think that, okay, now we got the funding, we have a person, okay, I don't need to do anything now because she will take care of everything. And that's quite challenging to get everybody engaged to the smart city development and all the climate issues, because actually it's not just one person's or one particular department's work, but this is a work that everybody needs to do, and it's everybody's work. But this kind of ideology sometimes raises up that, well, you are the person, you do that, and that's not how it works. But we are getting there.
Thank you so much. So I would like to repeat the same question to the other follower cities in MAtchUP about this fact of the biggest benefit, very briefly, and the main challenge. Jagon, for example.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, the question is about the biggest benefit that you have got from participating in MAtchUP, and the main challenge that you have to tackle about this participation.
Yes, I think the experience and the knowledge, the exposed to various of all kinds of solutions in the different fields was enormous for me. All this knowledge and experience, and that we use all the methodology and the tools that we got here in the MAtchUP. And the challenge was to overcome the budget part. To make it happen, we have to have a budget for this great solution, the replication. And that's why we're trying to get some of the budget from the country. We manage a big part of the solutions got 10 to 20% from the investment. And this was the challenge to make it happen by to get budget from all the different sources and to convince the municipality that this is the right way to go to.
Yeah, sometimes or most of the time the forward city have the problem of that they don't have budget for carrying out the amazing actions that are very interesting to actions to be carried out, but they have not budget for, or you don't have budget for that. Mathis, well, I will go back to Nadia to think about this fact of first experiences without having budget and then having as a lighthouse. But I would like to give the chance of for Mathis to describe very briefly the benefit and biggest challenges from MAtchUP.
Yeah, I've stressed it quite a couple of times in my presentation that the network, with all the benefits attached with the information, the knowledge, and so on, that's the biggest benefit for us. So being part of a bigger project, I would say the downside is also the fact that an organization, Ostend, and the city itself keep on changing. In the timeline of MAtchUP, we've changed legislation. We had elections. Colleagues came and went away. So there's a constant change, and then keeping MAtchUP and the project and Smart City on the agenda and keeping people enthusiastic about the project is a real challenge. So that's the point I want to make.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you, Mathis. Now, Nadia, could you finish with this issue of going from not having budget to have to the fact of being a lighthouse, and with this, it means that you have budget for carrying out actions?
Yeah, so first I want to add that I know for Sparcs it has been changed. Now the fellow cities have some small implementation budget. So they learned from our first projects that it would be necessary to give the cities something at hand to work with. Yeah. So yeah, so they have a small budget to implement at least I think one small scale project that they developed within Sparcs. And yeah, I mean, as you could see from our slides, we apply for funding from all different kind of sources. So it's not so much easier when you're a lighthouse, because also lighthouse projects will also only cover one part of the activities needed, especially the focus now with Sparcs is much more narrowed down to positive energy district. It doesn't have this broad smart city view anymore. So that leaves out a lot of the projects you want to do. And the question I have, or the challenge I see, is more that what comes after all those development and piloting projects, which the smart city projects are, nevertheless, if they are on EU and federal level. So where does the budget for regular operations come from? So we have the money, for example, to set up an urban data platform, but we have not yet the money to have the people on board for the maintenance and for the further development of the platform. And I think this is true also for other kinds of projects. So I could imagine for the lampposts, you now have the lampposts, but what do you do in 10 years then when you need the maintenance of those infrastructures? So I think this is also a challenge coming up to the cities to operate, so the regular operation of smart city infrastructures. And at least I think we still have a long way to go for this. So pilots are, okay, manageable, but the long-term vision and the rollout with overall the city. So not just focusing on one demo district, but to do it throughout the whole city. I think this is also quite a challenge.
Thank you, Nadia. This is a very interesting point. And in fact, I'm sure that this is a challenge for their own commission, because in fact, they are trying to give continuity to this project with other initiatives. And sometimes if your proposal comes from another, it would be even better evaluated, better assessed. So this could be a solution to have continuity to these projects with others. In your case, could be something like that. Maybe, but generally speaking, yes, this is a very good point to highlight. So with this, I think that we are running out of time. The only thing that is left is to express our gratitude to mainly to the speakers, Johanna, Jagon, Mathis, and Nadia, the organizers of this meeting of this webinar for making it happen, and the attendees for your attention. So thank you all, and we will go on with our webinar program. We will invite you to the following ones. So we will share by social media and so on. And with that, so thank you all, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.